So we are discussing gender stereotypes for women specifically in rugby and softball, but can also relate to all female sports.
I play softball at Simpson College, and the biggest stereotypes that I hear is that relating to softball is that we are known as lesbians. And even though it hasn't affected me, I just know that when we're out in public, if they see us in sweatpants, they obviously say that we're lesbians, or if we have a short haircut, they instantly refer that we're lesbians.
Okay, so I play rugby for Simpson, and usually when I tell people that I play rugby, they look at me and kind of give you that look of like, oh, like, are you a dyke or whatnot? And then they ask like, oh, isn't that too tough, or won't you get hurt, and stuff like that.
Okay, so originally at Simpson, I joined the rugby team as a freshman, and I got a lot of grief from that. There was a lot of lesbian jokes. Eventually, as a sophomore, I joined the softball team. Even more lesbian jokes. It's probably the #1 stereotype I see playing. Yeah, that's what I see. Another stereotype I feel like I see within rugby especially is the tackling, the physicality of the sport in general. Girls aren't looked at to be tough or physical, so when you do play a sport like rugby, they just don't assume you'll tackle. It just is out of character. You're looked at as manly.
Common stereotypes with softball and rugby, I would say they're manly. They date girls. They're very muscular. And that's all I got.
Typically, I would say women in sports in general, I think the common stereotype is they're not as strong, they're not as fast, less fun to watch is what comes to mind. So, I mean, I think those are the big ones.
So what comes to mind would be like lesbians, dykes, really muscular, butch almost, someone who's really anti-feminine, just somebody that would be very unattractive to any other type of person, and so therefore that they would have to be a lesbian or just be non-sexual in general.
When I think of rugby females especially, I would say they're probably thick with a couple of Ks. Maybe a C, we might be lucky, but probably a couple of Ks.
So this affects us in terms of that we're self-conscious about the fact that we even play the sports, and we consider not going out even though it's a sport that we love and we're good at, just because of the typical stereotypes against us, you know, being more manly than we should be, or other typical stereotypes that we mentioned earlier.
So these stereotypes will affect my future students because it can make them not even want to participate in the sport, so they don't have the label that might come along with it, such as the lesbian or dyke. But it also could affect them because they might fear that they're going to get bullied by their peers or lower their self-esteem as well.
I'm going to try not to assume that maybe when we're on a lesson about something that's generally more boy related, that my girls don't know about it too. You know, I'm gonna assume that everyone's on the same page. Yes, they might be a he or a she, which is different, but they can have the same interests, and that has no effect on their personality, their characteristics, what they like, who they are. Their gender doesn't matter. As an educator, if, you know, as they're young, I can maybe change their ways of thinking, so as they become adults and get into the world, they're not in society grouping boy things and girl things. They're just assuming that everyone is allowed. It's not weird to do anything that you want to do in life. I mean, I just want to stress to my students that whatever you do isn't related to what you are. It doesn't have any effect. Cut. Kaylee, if you laugh one more time, you're doing it. You're gonna say it.
He starts giggling. more
One more time and you're being.
Okay, I'm ready to go. And stuff like that. So those are just the stereotypes.
They're just things. Oh God. But you know what I mean? How are people supposed to take? Yeah. You ready?
Yeah, I guess. Sorry.
So
what?
go.
What's the question?
Is that good?
That was good. That was
Okay.